All right, guys. What it is, what it do, what it be. Let me just play this video clip real quick, and then I'll get back and I'll show you what's going on.
I'm working for two. Either you take your swimming seriously, or you come work with me at the garage.
Did you ever think that maybe I'm not good enough?
So anyway, if you look in this video, they show him living like in this. I don't even know what kind of trailer home this is. I don't even know what it is, but they show him living like in this, kind of worn down, this and that, and I'm so mad about it because this is about the second movie that was talking about mechanics. He said, "Oh, I work in my garage." Well, let me just play it, show you something real quick. An average mechanic in America makes 48, almost 49,000. So, first of all, if you're making, $24 an hour, that's about what, 4 times minimum wage. And then if you want to compare it, let's look at accountants. Okay, accountants right now in the United States are making about 55. So they make, they make anywhere around what, 27 and a half dollars. So that's just the average. Now we go to RNs, registered nurses. They start them off average 59,000. Now remember, of course, there's certified nurse assistant, and then it goes up to like vocational, and then it goes to registered nurse, and then it goes to nurse practitioner, and then it goes on and on and on. It's like 2 or 3 different steps. I don't know them all. But I mean, to remember everything, that's not my field. So when I told you at the beginning of this, if you remember, that's the average as a mechanic. First of all, if you remember the clip that I showed you, he said, "You're going to have to work for me in the garage." So obviously, if he can say that, you work for me in the garage, if he had a garage and he worked for him, obviously he owns the building, he has his own shop. So obviously, do you know how much, when's the last time you guys ever went to a mechanic shop? And how much do they charge you to change out a transmission? How much do they charge you to change out a engine? Do they charge you $2,000 just for labor? So this is what I'm talking about. Anything that they do, they're gonna charge you anything. And this whole stereotype about oil changes, or even my other friend of he's 60 years old, and he just doesn't understand what a mechanic does. And he said, "Oh, I was just helping changing out the strut, which is like in some cars they have shocks, right? And this one they had struts." And he thought that, well, first of all, mechanics, they can do that, but they know how to. They know everything about a car, but a mechanic is different from a technician. Just a regular tech, level 1 technician will just like change oils, and they're not mechanics though. To be a mechanic, you have to be state certified, state board, you guys, just like you're doing a doctor, a lawyer. You have to pass a test, a state test, to be able to get your license to work on heavy equipment vehicles, just like this. Diesel mechanics. Now we start going into mechanics. So if you're talking about people that are changing tires, that's not a mechanic. People that are changing oil, that's not a mechanic. People changing struts, that's not a mechanic. Now a mechanic can do that, but that's like telling a certified a CNA to do an RN job, to do what a nurse practitioner to do, and it goes on and on up, vocational nurse, a registered nurse. It's all different. It goes up in levels, right? So just like in mechanics, you have the technicians, just the worker helpers. That's the beginning. Well, other jobs, they have a lower than that, but we're talking about just a national basis. Down here is just the regular, just whatever people that just pit patty. And then you have the mechanic helpers. And then it goes up, well, below that is like technicians, just the people that do that. Then, just run around, and take off the tires and just little stuff like that. But that's not really a mechanic. A mechanic is someone that works that under the hood. So think about it that way. A mechanic is someone that works under the hood. That's where they stay at. That's their bread and butter. They're the ones that change everything that has to do with, they take out engines, put out engines, rebuild engines. Rebuild transmissions, take out transmissions, do a whole overhaul. Like, they do all that stuff under the hood. That's their bread and butter. That's what a mechanic does. So mechanics are up here. You know what I mean? And then if you want to work on other stuff, diesel mechanics. But then, what size? And then there's where people work on tankers. They work on Boeing's mechanics. And then they work on, and those people, oil fields. Now they're making $120,000. People working on 747s mechanics. Now it starts to go up and more, and just the bigger, the larger you end up, those cranes that are hundreds and hundreds of feet. Now it starts to go up and up. Those people that now see how it starts to go up and up. And before you know it, making $134,000 being a heavy equipment, you end up making, and of course they have other stuff as well that's way up at the top, foremans. There's for the government, there's shops that are, $1 billion, $200, $1 billion industry, but their department controls over 200 million a year, and they have to fix out, next to the border. Then there's other people that work, in the oil fields, and then there's some that go overseas, and those usually are making double that. So yeah, you can make 168, 200,000 easily. I know in Texas, there's mechanics out in the oil field making $160,000, $200,000, $250,000 out in the oil fields. And there's people overseas making 250, 300,000 plus. Some making 400,000, believe it or not. So there are mechanics and there are different levels to it. So when people try to, in every movie, and I've seen this in another movie, they try to make it seem like when you just saw how much the salary of an accountant is, you saw how much the salary of a nurse is, you saw the salary of what a diesel mechanic is and what it could be, and that's just here. Now there's different levels to it. Of course it can go past 160, 200,000. I know someone that they offered him double to go overseas, but of course he didn't want to do all that. But they offered him double, and I think it was over in and it was a lot. It was a lot, but. So see, I don't like movies that betray something that's a lie. And I'm getting sick and tired of people doing that, where it's just like, oh, well, this or that. As you can see, diesel mechanics, it happens. It really does. There's no way around it. Just like any other job, they can make a really great salary. So I don't understand why they say, oh, well, he works in the garage or this and that. They're making more money than accountants. They make more money than registered nurses.